All right, we'll come to order at 5:03 p.m. Let's introduce ourselves.
Scott Breyer, Select Board.
Scott Morley, Select Board.
Dan Webster, Select Board.
Matt Maxwell, Town Administrator.
Deb Tingway, Town Clerk, Town Bookkeeper.
Thanks, Deb. Any changes tonight, guys? No, good. Public comment?
No, Mr.
Okay. First up is the Coventry Town Foundation appropriation request. It was a $250,000 request from the town foundation, and I just want to clarify that we're gonna present it to the town as its own thing, right? It's not going into their appropriation.
Standalone article
Right, okay.
is what I would,
Very good.
is what I would
Is
do.
this the final request?
So that number, that goes back to the conversations that we've had. I've attended 2 of their meetings. We talked about what their goals are for their total kitty. I won't get the number exact, but I believe it was 2.1 or 2.2 million. I don't know if they gave you any of that information or they just shot you a number.
Yep.
Deb is here. She can clarify if I'm wrong, but I think it was 2.1 or 2.2 is the number that the group feels is an adequate supply of funds to keep themselves then into the future solvent for the money that they need. So I can't remember the number they're at now, but it's not that high. I think they're about 1.5, maybe 1.4, 1.5. Deb can tell us if I'm off a lot, but
Is that counting the last 250 we just gave them?
yep. Yeah, I think so. Yep. So to look at that number, we decided, well, why wouldn't it be, let's spread it out over 3 years. They invest their money, the town invests its money. So it doesn't kind of sort of matter as long if the town is going to be willing to go to that number. We put it as a standalone issue. The town can vote it up or down. And the conversation then in town meeting would probably be just what I said, but much more eloquently by Leo or whoever that knows the specifics. So
You think it'd be in the town's best interest to do it over 2 or 3 years and not just do it and be done with it? Because if the investments took a hit, the town would be on the hook for more money. If the investments did well, the town would be on the hook for less money. Might be good just to be done with it. And then
I don't know that you're gonna have enough money this year to be done with it. For new money coming in, depending on all these line items we're putting up, if they're voted in. I don't know that you would have that. We'd have to look at those numbers, but it's 6 of one, half dozen the
I
other,
guess
right?
it really isn't.
If it's gonna be an investment in one place or another.
If we're doing good, they're doing good. If we're doing bad, they're doing bad.
Kind of, sorta. I don't know exactly what they're in and what their final numbers for the year were comparables to ours, but. It seemed like a reasonable thing to do. It seems like it gives the towns folks a reasonable thought process rather than a scary thought, $750,000 potentially.
Well, maybe only like 350,000 now. If they're 1.4, we give them 250, they're 650. We're a little about $500,000 or less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Very good. Are we gonna get them to put that in writing? Because I've heard this discussion before, rewind a year, rewind the previous year.
That's a good thought.
Every year we're back at the trough. And
We did have a-
understand, I'm not knocking anything, but it would be good if they would commit something in writing in their report, maybe, some way that makes it.
I think it's a good idea, good thought, good idea. I actually thought about that myself a little bit, but have not had that conversation. So maybe this is a good opportunity for us to say, maybe we should do it in a. I think we should put it on this year with regardless, but I don't anticipate they would balk at that request. I don't know what form it looks like.
They can, maybe if they need money, they can go to another source after they reach their 2.1, $2.2 million threshold. I don't know,
I
actually,
don't know the form that looks like, and I don't know, if
they can probably always ask the town.
they
no
can
matter
all,
what.
yeah, you can always ask.
That's,
That's,
that's the issue.
So
Just keep going.
I think what we're, I think the way that we're trying to do it this time is at least a kind of an effort as a group to put it in front of the voters in a, non-contentious way with a potentially better conversation at town meeting to say to the town, at least verbally, this is what the request is, and this is why the request is what it is, and this is the goal for the top end of things. But there's no harm in asking them if they would be.
because honestly, the way I think about it is I don't feel the town should give the foundation any more money than what they spend in a year. If they're only spending $70,000, $80,000, and that's the history we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years, why are we giving them 250? We just gave them 250, right? Didn't we just
Yes.
give barely? Yeah, just
Last
barely,
month.
last month.
So
And then in October of 24, we're gonna give them another 250. It's a $500,000. That's like 7 years of what they've been normally paying out.
So I would say I see that. I don't think there's a perfect way to do it. I think that I personally agree with what you're saying. I also understand all the moving parts, I think, on what potentially can happen like last year. And I think if we at least begin the conversation and have a good conversation about publicly, what are the long-term goals, and start to set those goals. Right now, those goals aren't set. They're not in writing anywhere. You're right. They don't exist anywhere. And so if the goal is for the entity to self-fund, and it costs us some money now from the town, and that holds true, it probably would be a lot cheaper in the long run to do it that way.
To give them,
Because you don't know what their annual spending would be 5 years from now or 10 years from now. So if you got into a muscle memory of paying what the expenses are, there's no top end on that. So I think maybe it's a good idea to try to resolve it, try to come to agreements, try to get something in writing, at least for 2024. To say this is our goals as a town, this is what we want to do, this is why we want to do it, here's a plan to get to it, and then it's your responsibility to manage within that goal. It's the best I've been able to come up with. Deb?
Yes,
You've been listening, what do you feedback on all that?
but I really can't say anything as far as based on what the board, I mean, I can't state anything as far as for the board.
no, but as a town clerk for the town that you represent, what are your thoughts? As the town, what do you think would be best for the town's position and moving forward?
Well, I think it's gonna be looking at both entities as a whole. But one thing you gotta keep in mind is, like, even though you folks just gave 250,000, like 125 of that was just expensed out over the past year. It actually had been almost 2 years before we actually received money from the town. So we're sort of going back and recouping for costs that we've already paid out, that we've been using some of our other prior funding from. So even though you may give us a check for 250, that whole 250 does not go into investments. Only half of that amount goes into investments to get us to where we need to be. The other half is expensed out through requests and whatnot. I would say at this point in time, we are definitely starting to see a lot more requests. There's a lot of people who are having a hard time trying to put food on their table, trying to meet some of their expenses. You've got a lot of people who are getting laid off. Definitely Coventry is very fortunate to even have this available for our residents. So no, I think definitely there's more thought and more planning on the foundation side that needs to be done to accurately depict as far as when we think we're going to be able to meet that goal. But yeah, definitely in 3 years, I don't think by you giving us 250, that's not going to reach it, because like I said, we've got half of that that's going out in expenses every single year.
But again, if you spend 125, you're 1.5 million. In a bad year, you should, should make 75,000. You should be making 75 to 150,000 on your 1.5 million.
Yeah.
So it's almost in a normal situation or a normal year would fund itself,
Get that CDs right now.
right?
Yeah. And that's like some different options that we're currently looking at too, is branching it out to other areas, like what technically the town is doing as well, as far as to try to earn a little bit more interest on some of that money.
What was the final interest rate for the investments this year, Deb?
I probably have that in an email that I haven't printed off from LPL as of yet for our financial reports for December. I'll probably be printing those off tomorrow night. I can end up just letting you know what I see from the reports, but I don't have that figure in front of me right now.
Okay, I won't beat a dead horse. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. It's,
Once the town gives the money away, we have no control.
the town,
It's not our money anymore. It's not the townspeople's money. It belongs to this entity that can or cannot help the town. They can do whatever they want, however they decide they want to choose to do it.
well, and the town could vote no.
Mhm.
That's one of the reasons I think it's a good way to put it as a standalone. They could vote. It's gonna get to them. It's gonna get to the town. I guess the mechanism of how you want it to get there, at least with some potential governance and discussion and thought about how we, as a group, as a town, make goals, shared goals, and try to achieve it is, I think, important, rather than to just keep getting up to bat every year, never knowing what might be coming. We're not gonna be able to budget. We're getting our budgets in line now. We're kind of trying to get ourselves down to zero. If we do that and you don't know what might be coming down the road, you're gonna be taking money out of your investments to fund it. And I don't think that's a great scenario either. So.
Done with that one?
Never. But yes.
All right, we've got fiscal year 2023 audit status starring David Barlow.
And Matt.
Man of the hour, men of the hour.
And Matt. Okay, so I have been trying to get Mr. Rick Brigham on the phone today, but I was not successful. However, I can answer most of the information at this point. We have done what's called adjusting journal entries, which come from the auditor, to bring fiscal year 2023 to a cash basis account. That has happened, and we're there for fiscal year 2023. What we're waiting on now is for the auditors to finish their work in fiscal year 23 for sort of normal auditing stuff and get back more adjusting journal entries that happen inevitably with sort of normal auditing stuff. For example, things like retirement, basis for the retirement plan that the state runs, we have to make entries in accounts for that. That I could calculate, I suppose, but not at $20 an hour. So that's a $200 an hour kind of calculation. Stuff that auditors just do, but other stuff that has to do with the way education funds are, and we have a thing for that. Sort of goes on and on. I anticipate, or I delivered to the auditors a full day's worth of work, my work on Friday, last Friday, follow-up stuff that they needed to do what they're doing. So it looks similar to what the way things have progressed in the past. I would anticipate if they're staying on target that we're going to see results soon. I would hope this month. Meaning that they'll come to you through me probably for the various letters that you sign that say we take responsibility for the stuff that you're providing us. I mean, they're lengthy letters, 7 or 8 pages, you sign a few times. That's kind of the next phase. They'll send me a bunch of adjusting journal entries, like they already have, to bring 23 into cash basis. So we may work to fix the stuff I was talking about. Clean up around the edges. Once they get the letter back, and once we do the adjusting journal entries and send the results back to them in the terms of call a count balance kind of thing that they look at, and they make sure that they're happy with the final numbers. At that point, then I would anticipate they're going to publish the audit, and we just get it in hand like previous years. Unfortunately, what I don't have from you is a commitment for them for the timeline, the exact time of that. Just based on previous experience, they're marching towards somewhere in this month, unless there's some weirdness that comes up. But so far, that's not the case. It's been very straightforward.
In the past, our audits are usually the end of January, aren't they, or sometime in January?
They have varied wildly during times of COVID. We haven't had one prior to June in several years now. I would say pre-COVID, they were typically in the January, early February timeframe. And we had the number in time for the town report, so that when we went into town meeting, the number we were dealing with when it came to excess revenue, which is leftover landfill money, we would know, we would have that as an audited number. So when we were voting it, it was audited. There was no hem and haw or anything like that. That was the number. But it's been several years since that's been the case. So I anticipate that this year we'll be back to finish the audit before we have to go to press. So we can use the word audited with that revenue number. It just is for me, a much more comfortable feeling to have that, and I think for you as well, when you put up warrant items against an audited number. Let's do this with the funds, let's do that, let's do this. And it goes back to even the foundation. They're asking for a huge chunk of change. It'd be nice to know if we actually had that much on an audited basis.
Right.
Right, it wouldn't make sense for the town to take it out of their investments to give it to the foundation.
Well, you'd have to have a whole vote on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because going into this year on a cash basis, there's no surplus excess. There's no money. All the money's accounted for.
Right. So that's where I'm getting kind of jumpy on all of this, because I would like to hear from the audit firm that we will have that, because we're going to be making pretty serious, or asking the town to make pretty serious votes. And we want to make sure that that's real.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to make sure that they understand as a firm that this is a unique thing for Coventry, and that it's like, this has got to get done. Second one for me, right offhand, is so going to the cash for 2023 would mean that there would then only be 3 Casella revenue checks in that year. Changing,
No, there's 4. So we moved the one that was pushed back to 22.
okay, so you went back there.
That's part of it, right? So we went into 22 and pulled stuff back into 23 that needed to be back into 23. Went into 24 and pushed stuff back that needed that on a cash basis would be in 23. So no, it's a line. 24 will be the same.
So the check that we received July of 2024 goes into what fiscal year?
24.
The one we're in now,
The whole amount. We don't have to backdate anything.
right?
Cash basis is when it
Right,
happens.
starting July 1, it's all cash based. So my question is then, at some point in a previous year, some year gets 3.
22.
Okay, was there a reason it was 22 and not 23? And how does it work? I mean, it's like that money's gone, it's spent, it's
You have
not
to push it
there.
forward and backwards and just balance the time period out, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Just picture it as a clock.
But no, I'm picturing it as money. So there's money,
So, but.
it's still the same
picture
number
this
of
bank account.
dollars,
The bank account, money hits the bank account when it hits the bank account.
right?
And I'm always required as a treasurer in the accounting system to have money hit the bank account when it hits the bank account. So those checks that show up from Casella in July that are for services rendered April, May, June, always hit the bank account in July. And that's when the cash goes in. It goes in July. So just maneuvering around in the accounting system to say which fiscal year doesn't change when the cash showed up and where it went in the bank account. That is it's a physical thing. That's when it happens. So we can say, okay, yeah, fiscal year 22, that check that was pushed back from paying what your total in revenue and expenses were in fiscal year 22, you got pulled forward to 23. Okay, well, that's interesting only from a total number standpoint of looking at the report and going, oh, okay. But the money, the actual cash, still hit in July of 22 in this case, but it was in fiscal year 23. Now it's in fiscal year 23 on the cash basis.
Sure, you're right, but I don't understand.
Well, you have to just kind of separate your head.
Let me
There's a
try,
bank account and money hits the bank account.
let me try it this way. Let's say in 22, 23, and 24, those years, right? We took in $100 from Casella's in 2022. Let's say it's $100. And we spent all the 100. The 100's gone. It's either spent on expenses, salaries, or put in an investment. And we end of the year 2022 with 0. Right? That was 4 checks. We get to 2023, we get 4 checks,
Mhm.
and it's $100, and we spent it all.
Mhm.
So it's down to 0. One of those, the 4th check of that 2023, the 4th check of 2023 arrived July of 2024. That's 3 checks.
But the 4th check from 2022 arrived in July of 2023.
So you'd have to go back to there and say, well, then there was only 3 checks in that year.
If you looked in our accounting system now in terms of
You see what I'm saying?
not the checks themselves, remember, there's a physical reality of cash hitting the bank account. It happens and it hits the bank account when it hits the bank account. That's what happens. The other part about fiscal year, and is it accrual
Not the
based?
first check though, it's
cash
gonna be,
basis?
it's not the first check, it's the last check.
Well, it's the last of this year and the first of this year is the same, it is,
So we usually get our checks July is one.
which has
If
been
you're
the
at
fourth, which has been the fourth check of the fiscal 23.
What we're counting is the first check of the cash basis.
Right,
going
which
forward.
means you aren't gonna use it this year. Can't use it twice.
No, you can't use it twice.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, fiscal year 24, let's start there,
That's where, yeah,
right? Get a check in July. It's in the bank. You spend it from it, whatever. I showed up in July, it's in fiscal year 24. You get the next one in October, the next one in January. I don't know. It's in the bank, shows up, that's it, it's cash, there it is.
yeah, I don't think it's a problem.
It's not a problem.
Deb, am I crazy?
He said yes.
I don't understand that. I don't understand how you can have 4 checks every year. For the last 20 years, we get 4 checks and all of our budgets and all of our decisions have been on those 4 checks. Right? And now we've decided, rightfully so, that we're gonna go to a cash basis, which means we have to adjust when we account for those checks. We're one of these years is gonna have 3 checks in it.
22.
And so
But you
what,
But you cut it off, and half of that check went towards 22 and the rest of the check, the balance went towards 23. How did you do it?
No, the whole, previously under accrual-based accounting, that check that landed in July of 2022, which is fiscal year 23, was in a sense accounted for as a fiscal year 22 asset. But the cash transaction itself in Nemrick at the bank, that happens in July. So that cash goes in July and it's sitting there in July. You don't move it, we don't bundle up the money and then somehow mystically move it back in time. No, it happened.
So it
in
saves,
July.
it eliminates the problem that you're thinking we were gonna have, I believe.
In addition, those payments are pretty consistent. They've been consistently increasing, not so much that it, makes a huge problem, and not decreasing. So it's not like you're.
Makes it easy for a town to
does
run.
that make sense to you?
Yeah.
I got it.
No, I don't. I just don't get it. So in 2022, the year that we took it from, if we successfully achieved an audit in 2022 with the numbers as they were then.
Mhm.
Balance it out to 0. It came to 0 somehow, right? You knew you accounted for every single dollar wherever it went.
I don't think the number ever was 0.
Never comes to 0,
Never.
but it's usually pretty close if you look at it from a reconciliation scale.
Reconciliation, it has to, you're right there,
It's
because you
theoretically
know
speaking,
that it's either in investments or it's in your checkbook or it's,
You know where it is.
you can account for that down to that number. So if you had made decisions as a town to allocate that money to wherever we put it, which is what we do every year, then that year's finalized and done, and you already made decisions on that money, so the money is effectively gone where it needed to go. 4 checks. And so if you're going back there and you're bringing that $400,000 forward to 2024, something is wrong back there. Some year has to
Well, I
have
think
3 checks in it.
they adjusted the number.
Now, so.
You can adjust the number, but the dollars are gone.
But so is the budgeting and so is all the transactions. That all happens. The action for fiscal year 22 was to, you're not actually moving money or doing anything of the sort. The 22 numbers stay the same. It's still, that's still a fiscal year accrual, modified accrual based accounting that includes the number from that check in July. So if you look back in our system right now at 22, nothing changed. And in fact, when I make that,
That's why you hire an auditor. You don't need to think, you don't need to know that.
the
I haven't
adjustment
seen the
itself
auditor say it.
only happens in fiscal year 22. The actual action of receiving a check in 22 that's in fiscal year 23 that's in July, that's in the accounting system too, because it hit the bank. You don't just delete that in fiscal year 23. That's not what happens. It's still there. The cash hit the bank in 23. July 22, there it is. So
And I think maybe it's probably just gonna be coded as some type of entry by the auditors. Because I mean, I understand what you're saying, Scott, because you've got that one payment that we already used prior to, but now we're receiving this fiscal year. It's gonna show up in this fiscal year, but the auditors, because of changing to the cash basis, instead of that now being like this year's cash, it's gonna be classified as some other type of entity, so it's not gonna actually be shown as that much more money for this year.
I think one thing too is our July 1st, correct me if I'm wrong, but our July check right now for 20, that we get in 2024, the check we get in July of 2024, we haven't accounted for that money, or have we spent that money?
That'll be next fiscal. You've already got July 2023 check that's now this fiscal. So we've received. Have we got a January check yet?
no,
So we've received two, we'll get another check, we'll get the third check next week, this week or next week, and we'll be on our third check. And we'll get our fourth check in March, April. For this year.
which was always the way it was gonna be anyway.
Right,
So the audit results, when you read through these 50-page audits, the value for the town, just label it that way. It's not really talking about cash, it's talking about overall valuations. And you have to remember, it's specific to a specific time period in the accounting rules in effect. So it's a different set of rules for fiscal year 22 when you're accrual basis, and then you go, okay, now we're cash basis in 23, it's another set of rules. You're not duplicating anything or counting anything twice or eliminating something from 22. It's a set of rules. But cash is cash, cash is king. It hits the account physically when it happens. That's when it happens. It's in the system that way. You can budget against it going forward, looking back.
Good.
no. I don't understand it, but I will. I'll figure it out in my own mind. I'll have to, hear it. Home and sleep on that. I'm not suggesting we're doing anything wrong. I want to make sure we're not. It just doesn't, I can't make it work in my mind.
All right, well, let's think about photocopies of town office for a minute.
You talk, the more confused I get.
So you call it kiting.
We need to end on the budgeting section.
I think that's a
Yeah.
auditor's term, kiting.
Good. I got
That
a
one.
chart to show you about how I calculate revenue, anticipated revenue from the land. It's 6 months from showing up at a minimum.
That's a number we need.
I'm only slightly extending the process here a little bit, but budgeting for fiscal year 25, we're talking about starting that in July 1st of 2024. to predict the revenue that you're gonna get, we're doing that right now or have done it. With a whole bunch of missing months, we don't have anything yet, right? We don't know what's gonna happen precisely for the next several checks, these Casella checks. So
Well, we have a good idea,
have to predict it.
right?
That, I would argue, predicting that number doesn't change at all, changing from cash to accrual, accrual to cash.
Right.
Doesn't change how you do it. It's the same exact process. So the budgeting process, the spending, it's not tremendously impacted. I think from your guys' perspective, cash basis makes my life easier, definitely, but doesn't really have any impact that I know, that I can see on budgeting and happens in the I'm not.
Okay, what are we doing with photocopies at the town office? Apparently, we're charging people $1, I believe.
It depends on what it is.
Right, depending on what they're asking
It's
for.
tax bills.
Yeah,
That's what it's all.
we had discussed this earlier.
This is one of my pet peeves
Yes.
again. I brought it
You
back
brought
to
it
life.
around.
I've talked to a few more people and, it needs to go away. Treat people nice.
So here's the scenario that caused me to implement this back a few years ago now. April timeframe, people are trying to do their taxes. And they discover, hey, I need my tax bill. I can't find my tax bill. I don't want to look for my tax bill. I'm just gonna call down here and get my tax bill. And by the way, I want that tax bill right now. I'm sitting in my accountant's office, or I have my accountant call. I want that right now. And I'm not talking about just one case. I'm talking about many cases of fix my problem, treasurer. Give it to me right now. If we want to hand them out for free, that's fine, but I'm going to have a process for it. It's not going to involve me dropping everything to instantly dig around to find and copy tax bills, particularly when historically it's the same set of folks. Now, am I polite when people show up to get a copy? Sure. I try to be. And when they call, sure. But you know, it takes time. They expect instant service. And I kind of get it. I understand. You want to get your taxes done. You're up against the wall to get your taxes done. You don't want to look for your tax bill. You can't find it. Got it. However, it's a service that you're demanding I deliver against all the other work I have to do.
Can Matt do that?
To an extent, maybe.
Then he will. If you can't get to it because you're too busy, then Matt will do it.
Well, my point is twofold. One, it's a time-consuming event that I can manage if it's put together, right? If I get a list together of who needs copies, where they need to go, how they need to be delivered, because there's various ways. Some people want me to mail them, some people want me to email them, some people want me to fax them, some people want to show up in person and collect them. Okay, fine.
We're talking about photocopies. So when,
No, oh, absolutely not. It's a much larger picture than that. A lot of it's email, a lot of it's fax. It's people sitting in their accountant's office going, I don't have my tax bills, or accountant calls. Great. Well, they want it right then and there because they're paying that guy or gal to service their taxes. They want them emailed. Or fax. I mean,
well, I was
handling
talking about
copies is easy.
photocopies.
Photocopies are actually the lesser evil in some sense, but they're still. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're talking about, you know, and it's not just tax bills, it's whatever. Somebody, if a resident comes in here
If
and
somebody wants a photocopy, I think we should give them a photocopy.
Right.
You know why? Because we gave the foundation $250,000 effing dollars.
Right.
I think we can give a photocopy.
Right.
If we can only afford to give $240 9,000 and $1,000 worth of free copies, I think I don't think we should.
Well,
copy.
Yeah, generally speaking, when residents come in and need copies, we do it for them for free. Really, I mean, it's just, I had one Monday. On Friday, so, just somebody needs a copy of their application form for a certain service. No problem, it's not a big deal. Do it with a smile and happy for them and happy I can help. Same thing with if it's possible to locate a deed or, really simple stuff that's not, yeah, I mean, we're taking care of people. That's the point. But it's just, it can be a slippery slope, but tax bills you can tell it's a pet peeve of mine that, and I get it, people lose their tax bills, but we need to encourage that you don't lose your tax bill.
It's like your driver's license. Keep it in your front pocket.
Look, I get it. We work for the town. That's what we're here for. If they need some photocopies for their taxes, that's what we're here for.
Sure, but there's no reason that needs to be free to a very small subset of people who every year need the same service on demand quickly.
Right now, what we've been saying is photocopies cost money. That's what we've been saying. Now, if you guys are independently picking and choosing who you're making photocopies for nothing and who you're charging for, that's even a bigger problem. We don't want to go down that rabbit hole. The answer is exactly what I think Scott just said, and which is what I've been trying to say, which is we are crazy to have the money that we have, the luxuries that we have, the staff that we have, to be nitpicking our residents who entrust us with doing their work for them over a photocopy. If you don't have the time for that, then you need to tell us about that. We need to think through it. We need to either give you more money for no more time, get you an assistant, or get Matt to do it. That's just the way it is.
Or make 2 copies of all of those problem tax people's tax bills and have them in a folder. Because you know they're gonna ask for another one.
I mean, whatever it
But it
is.
isn't,
I don't know how.
to show up in person. I can tell you the dollar charge has been very effective. It was very effective, especially the first couple of years, at putting the squash on the frantic phone calls in early April about do this, and it wasn't even polite. It's multiple, do this, do that, you will, you would, you will. Like, oh, well, no, how about this? And I get it, I'm working for the town.
We all are.
That's great.
That's what we all do.
I think most
We don't
of
get
the
paid
town
much.
would be okay with the small subset that needs the extra services for them to pay for.
So let's try no charging for photocopies for a while.
And then bring it to our attention when someone you feel is abusing it.
Right.
Okay, but
If it gets way out of crazy whack, then
again, the tax bills is not, the photocopies, I think we can deal with that.
I know what you mean though, like I know
It's the electronics.
when you're right in the middle of doing whatever we want you to do and you're on a crunch for it, and then you get a phone call and someone needs their tax bill or something demanding it from you right now. I know it sucks. You have, your time is, you have an allotment of time to do what you're doing and then you get interrupted. And I understand, but yeah, I don't know what, I don't have the answer. I think you have to.
Well, if you don't want me to charge for it, that's fine, but at least let me have a process. Especially in early April, let me accumulate the electronic delivery stuff and deliver it when I have a chance to do 2 or 3 or 4 at a time.
I'm okay. I don't care how you do it.
I don't care how you do it either. We've never stepped in and said how to proceduralize something. What I'm trying to say right now is, as a function of our town's decision-making, we should not be charging our residents photocopy fees. How you do it and when you do it is
For something of a town
between you
business
and
or
them.
something, if they come in and they want 20 copies of something of their own personal thing, and they do it repeatedly, then I would,
Yeah, throw the flag,
But like,
throw the flag to us and.
you say, Betty Lou,
Let's
can you
talk
bring
through
me a
that.
ream of paper? We use, this is
Yeah.
the size we use.
Right, say no, make it an issue, then make it an issue, but this, day to day, people coming in. I've personally come here myself and been charged for photocopy
For tax bill.
and others. And other things. And it's not right, and it's like whoop-de-doo, here's a buck or two, but it just always does sort of stick in my side. And it's like, it's not right, it's not healthy, it's not the way Coventry should be
Stop on
treating.
my shop, I'm in charge.
I know, right? So it's just like, we're making this out of such a big thing. It's like photocopies and give it to them. How you do it, I don't care how you do it. And if you need Matt, who's a great public servant, tell Matt you need help. And he'll do it. He will.
Good. All copies are free. Appointed town officials. So I gave you a list there and I'm not happy with it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Why, cause your name's on it?
No, just because some of those people aren't appointed officials, I don't think. Also Lester Carbonneau has resigned from the cemetery commission, so he's gone. I don't know if we even have a cemetery commission left anymore. But anyway, that's just, you guys can edit that, give it back to me, whatever you want to change. That's gonna be a page in the book.
Every one of these positions is mandatory, correct?
I believe so.
Statute wise, you check,
Statute-wise.
have you checked?
Not every one of them, like the community center coordinator's not.
No,
No, that's just. something-
That's just something that we do.
Yeah.
right.
And I don't really know if it even needs to be there. That's just part of your job. Right?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, it is.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just part of what
right.
we have you do. It's not a. So that one, I take that right out, but yeah, so we should look through that.
Yeah.
That's kind of good timing, I think. We need to get this current so that we know that it's current. I think we then need to ask the folks that are on there currently if they're looking to maintain it, because we're gonna have to do assignments. When do you guys do that now?
The day
Right after the
town
day
meeting.
after. town
Right,
meeting.
so like the
Wednesday-
work should
Wednesday
be
night.
ready to do that.
Right. You don't
And
wanna go
so-
there, yeah.
We should maybe iron this out this week, get this perfectly straight, and then.
For these people on here are interested.
Yeah, ask Matt to reach out
Mhm.
and see if they're all interested. And get something from them, whether it's verbal, and you take care of that and let us know, or not, like you just mentioned one that wasn't.
Lester Carbonneau's resigned from the cemetery.
So we gotta know all that, and then I suppose we should be talking about, what do we do about that? It seems to me like there's a lot of either vacancies or people I haven't seen or heard about in a year. So maybe that discussion with you and them flushes that out and figures that out. And we know that they don't really want to do it or aren't interested in it, and we should probably send something out, letting people know. For town meeting, right? That there's a bunch of vacancies, and we could send a link to. Whatever it's called, descriptions of what they are, so people could go on there and find out what they are, and if they're interested in doing it.
Usually that's already within the annual report. Because we go down through, we make a listing of all elected and appointed officials with their term. And if a spot is vacant, then usually it's stated vacancy. So when they receive their annual report, they do know which ones are available. And the descriptions for each one of those jobs has, well, usually in prior years, has been included within the annual report as well.
I think our issue was that there were some errors, right?
Right,
Last year.
I felt like some of the people that we had as appointed officials are actually employees. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not.
There was some errors in it, Deb. That's the issue. So we're trying to get ahead of the errors.
And then some of them were elected positions and not
Yeah.
something that you guys appoint.
Right.
Also,
It's gotta just get some cleanup. some cleanup, some rework, and then I think that cleanup and rework that Matt's thinking of doing is going to then hit that refresh button for us to see, okay, these are vacant, or these are currently vacant, and these are gonna be in March because they're not interested in doing it again. So it'll give us an idea to then send some notices out, or send a flyer out, or some postcards or something.
We'll we could put maybe a flag in the town report that goes to everybody.
Oh, there you go.
You know, just put a page in there that's removable.
There you go.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Flyer, town
May-
report.
Maybe just put a little more emphasis on it this time to see, you know, let people
Yeah.
know that there's,
Get involved.
we need help.
Get involved. Yeah.
Very
With
good.
the printing company doing the annual reports, we just can't put a piece of paper in there. Matt would probably have to go through and just create a whole separate page within the annual report listing some of that stuff.
Oh, because they do the mailing now?
The
Yeah, we
issue-
never see them. Yeah, we never see them. That's all right, we can do a page.
So we get one
We
physical
approve-
You get
copy.
one back, yeah.
We
I
approve
I
three.
send them a thing, they send me back a book, you guys look at it.
Okay.
We get
approve
3
it,
or
and
4
then-
weeks to make.
But we send them the mailing list and they mail them out for us.
Awesome.
It's much easier that way. Okay,
It would be nice to have it separate though, on top of the book.
No.
That way, when they open the book,
Yeah.
they touch it.
town
We
meeting
could do that.
updates.
They can do that, they can put a piece of paper in there, cause we'll come down and make photocopies for them.
So this town meeting
Great.
update is just to remind you guys that you told the planning commission that they could have their sidewalk money on the for voted on town meeting, and then you told the equity committee that you would put the declaration of inclusion in front of the voters also.
I'd like to talk about the sidewalk a little bit, so.
It's not here.
If anybody's curious, here's the minutes where you said such things.
Do we have something for that sidewalk study?
We had it was in an email recently.
It's in the minutes. It's right in the minutes, what they want, what you agreed to do.
Which option?
Yeah.
I was just wondering if we, wanted to postpone it until we were done with. What is it, the FEMA buying the flood properties? You know, the properties that are in the flood zone, it doesn't seem like it would make a lot of sense if. We're redesigning all the sidewalks in the town and then half the people on this side of the street. Like are selling their home and then we're knocking it down and we're making green space. You know, it would. The landscape and the design of the town could change if the town buys back a bunch of these properties. And make it green space, so now if we have this sidewalk, it would define kind of. And we may not want it that way. You know what I mean? Once there's no homes, maybe you'd wanna change it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just one of my thoughts. And again, we were looking into, I thought we had talked about. Bill had never gotten back to us, I don't believe, regarding. A sign, a blinking school zone sign from the state. So to make a sidewalk to nowhere,
Right.
to cross that dangerous road
Well,
without.
that's not what they don't want money for that right now. Right now, they just want money to do just the village.
Talked about a lot, and it was a while ago.
I'm gonna find that right here. Where am I finding it, Matt? Hone me in on it.
Maybe you're not looking at the right minutes. Are you looking at?
Yeah, he is.
Are you looking at the planning commission one or the declaration of inclusion one?
I've got the Declaration of Inclusion one.
So it's
It's sidewalk scoping.
I mean, we got a planning commission guy here. He could probably tell you.
So there was 3 different phases of that.
I think it was, in which case it was going, but is this from?
It was just, yeah, here, from there to there, it's just.
Yeah.
Just the village. And I believe it even says the amount of money that they would need the town to put up based on their grant. I think that's in there too.
It wasn't going to master China or nothing like
No,
that.
just, yeah,
Right here,
just
right.
right here, yeah.
I don't have that page. Must be
It's right here.
Just,
Second section from Conway Court to the Cleveland Meeting House is the section that the PC feels should be the focus. It would include sidewalks on both sides with 2 crosswalks. Praneet mentioned that there are some historical markers associated with this section of the project, including a rock wall on Conway Court, blah, blah, blah. Too vague. There's no real money in it either.
You have it in that, it's in an email, a recent email.
Yeah, it's like 20 something, 20,000 something, right? Something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
there was getting grant for it too, I believe.
Right, we have a grant pays for 80%
You're right,
of
though.
it. The town would be,
I think we should put it on hold.
He's kind of right.
well, I mean, that would be a conversation.
We'd have to go back
We'd have to have a talk to planning.
because I mean, that's all new. That's all new to us. That we're gonna be literally knocking a bunch of these houses down.
Well,
Possibly,
possibly.
right. I don't see a big urgency for a sidewalk right yet.
Well, no, but we did say that we were gonna put it on this, so. I mean, it's only fair to better scramble them in here
Mhm.
and have a conversation about this at least one more time and
When's
see
your next meeting is?
how much.
Next month,
February?
yeah.
Good.
What, can we just bring them to the next select board meeting?
Yeah.
Why don't we just do that?
Our next-
I'm good, you would like just email Steph or do you want me?
I'll email her.
Thank you.
And then maybe just print us out a copy of the whole layout, the whole thing again, like that was in that email.
Yeah, let's look at a better, more complete packet on what Jack's thinking was it in May, and then, yeah, that does kind of scare me if you start losing, what, 3 houses on Conway, right? 3 houses on Conway,
Deb
plus some down,
Deb
I
Lewis's
mean,
House.
in the corner,
Both sides of the corner there.
that's
Dale
all
Bennett's
gonna be green space different.
Couple on Conway Court.
The whole design
Oh,
could change.
The old Grange Hall is in there too. That would be gone.
I mean, I'm not sure what the town, if people do sell their homes and then the town takes over the property. I'm not exactly sure what our rules and restrictions are. I know we make it green, but you know, can we make it public use property? And then if we're gonna make a bigger park or, you know,
Right.
a town garden or whoever knows what it
We'll have
could
to
be.
find the rules, yeah.
It'd be a different type of layout, I'm sure.
All right, so that,
That's good. Okay, so I'll do that. And then
Yeah.
but you're good with the inclusion one?
yeah.
Okay.
What's that look like? What's that language?
I got the same thing that everybody else put in theirs. I just got it from that. Remember those people that were on the computer that night?
Yeah,
I just took their language.
that's what they've provided towns
That's what they
to
provided
put it into
towns.
their
Yeah.
town meeting.
Yep.
Pretty basic.
Well, you'll have to approve it before I can post it. It's gonna be part of the warning, so you'll see it, read it if you don't like what it says.
Can you email it to us again?
Yeah, I haven't emailed it to you yet anyway. I just had to see, because we haven't done the warning yet.
But we had the rough draft, kind of what it was gonna be when they came.
Right, yeah. I think, but you were asking how it was gonna look.
Yeah, I can't remember what it
Right,
said.
How the articles, right?
Yeah, just send us that
Okay.
so we can look at it.
Road crew clothing stipend.
Okay, so I was asked to talk to these guys regarding a stipend versus UniFirst and providing uniforms and doing the math and talking with Nate, he's talked with Josh and Jeff, and they seem to be happy with the stipend for clothing and boots and not going to pick and shovel and just charging that stuff to the town, you know, just randomly like, okay, we
That's
need
good.
some stuff. So we came up with a figure of $400 twice a year, so spring and fall. I think we should put it in our personnel policy too for the road crew. A new hire, they'll only, it's at the same time every year. So if you just missed it when you start, you just missed it.
Yep.
It's just, and that's, you know, I think the uniforms. Deb would know, the uniforms ended up being about, isn't it about $700 or $800 a year? And
Well, now that we have 3 guys, on average, it's probably about $140 a month
For the three.
for the
for
3
the
of them.
three,
Yeah,
less rips, but then there's always missing and repair bills and surcharges, right?
and I still have 2 that they're supposed to be fixing, well, meaning the road crew, supposed to be handling those with Universe to get those adjusted because they had some items marked down for Jeff. So I'm holding on to 2 invoices, that's like $500 a piece.
Just for a problem. It gets cleaner, you know, as soon as one gets ripped, it's $40. As soon as one's missing, it's just it's another accounting piece that the town won't have to account for. I think it would be wise. If we don't like, if you think the amount's too much, maybe I can go back to them and talk a little bit less, but you know, they're definitely gonna ruin a pair of boots a year, and a pair of rubber boots is $175,
Yeah.
you know? So and you're definitely gonna rip some pants and go through a coat and gloves and this and that, so I don't feel like $100 is too much. We could ask the town foundation too, if they would supply the guys, the road crew, possibly with clothing, maybe.
So what do we do when we have an employee show up in a pair of shorts? Or a jacket that's inflammatory, or something else that we don't think is becoming of a town employee? That's one of the things uniform fixes. So if you go to the stipend, that's another piece of a personnel policy that you have some description in there, which gives the board an ability to confront poor choices on public attire. And you have to start talking about different things there.
Well, maybe they need to wear, you know, we don't have a dress policy right now though, either.
No, because you have uniforms.
I don't think that's even in the personnel policy.
It's not, but
Is there
it's
something through insurance? They have to
what
wear,
we do, so
Mhm.
it's sort of not been a problem because you've got that. If you let people just start buying their own stuff, they're gonna buy their own stuff. It's not gonna say Scott and John on it, so you know, that's gonna go away. And all that other stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's gonna be a t-shirt and a sweatshirt and some jeans and some rubber boots and whatever color coat they happen to be wearing.
Maybe,
Or we could get
maybe.
more specific, and we could provide them with a coat, a pair of boots, and a uniform, or, I mean, it's,
Or you gotta write a dress code,
yeah.
you know, you gotta say,
Change policy. I mean, we got a bunch of.
Just
stuff
put a-
to change that
put a-
personnel policy.
put a chunk in there that
Yeah, we
talks
can add this to the
about,
list.
you know, if we want coats to be blue, then they're gonna be blue. They're gonna be, you know, Carhartt, they're gonna be
Right.
something that gives you an ability to not go crazy. Cause it will. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, might not be with the group that you have today, that we currently have, but there's going to be an event.
Mhm.
And you're gonna have to deal with that. And,
Just making up the t-shirts themselves or the long sleeve shirts.
and the cleanliness and the holes, you know, all of that stuff. Is something that, well, I've only got $800, I ripped my pants, I don't have enough money now, so they're gonna rip pants around, no, they're not.
Trying to enforce that.
Well, UniFirst, right? We pay for it, but they mend it. It's part of the whole program. So,
Maybe we should ask UniFirst to come to one of our meetings,
Do that.
see if they want our business and see if they can step it up. We've had a lot of problems. We don't have them any longer in our business because we've had too many problems. You know, all our mechanics used to wear that stuff.
yeah,
Did I like it better? Absolutely. Was it worth the hassle? No.
and of course, they don't supply the boots. UniFirst,
No, but.
So-
I mean, they've got a freaking catalog, this
Yeah.
thick. I'm sure you can buy boots from them if you wanted to.
right, but I mean, we haven't been
We haven't
supplying
done
boots, so they've been,
No.
but it just seems like, you know,
Yeah, they jackets and shirts,
right,
pants.
But again, too, you know, depending on how you look at it, it's like, I don't supply all my mechanics tools. I buy some specialty tools for the shop, you know, and like if you are on a road crew, maybe you would buy your own boots, you know what I mean? Kind of. you
yeah,
know,
I just think there's a
you know, there's
bunch of moving parts there, so it's like, right now, we haven't been doing the boots, I'm not opposed saying maybe buy a pair of boots once a year.
Right.
In addition to UniFirst or something like that, but. We can't just let them go to the pick and shovel and buy whatever they want either.
Right.
You know, they gotta be told, you're not, unless it's a specialty item that they need, like chaps or,
Yeah, they,
you know.
they're painting and
A
they need a
helmet.
suit and the, right.
Something, yeah, something like that, they need a pair of waders for
Right.
getting in the river.
Yeah.
That's not personal attire, but personal attire is something different.
All right, so I think we should table this. This is, we need to spend some time thinking it through.
Yeah.
All right. I'll put it on next month, our next. agenda too.
Yeah, I gotta think about that.
All right, next
Whoa,
up,
that.
Yeah.
we
But
have,
they, honestly, they need to have themselves,
unemployment benefits.
Yeah.
but we could make them 100 ads at the town of Coventry. How many do you want?
So we've got a former town
Everybody in the whole town
employee
gets one.
who is,
What are we doing here?
is taking, drawing unemployment off the town now. It's kind of unexpected, so I just didn't know where we were gonna pay this from, because it's not anything we budgeted for, I don't believe.
Deb, normally where do unemployment benefits come from? Like if it's not a budgeted item?
It's still gonna come out from that expense, so technically that's gonna be, go ahead and be charged to roads labor or wages, I should say. So you're just gonna see that that line item is actually gonna be over expense for this coming year because of that. Just like Ned's what's posted towards town administrator pay. Whoever position it is where it should get marked to.
What are we talking about? How much money are we talking?
18.
18, I was gonna say close to 20 grand.
18,000?
I think 18,100-ish.
Okay, wait a minute. I gotta take some steps back. So. We don't have the money for that, right? That where you're going? We don't.
We didn't anticipate this happening. I mean, I'm sure we've got money for everything, but.
We won't have after next.
Yeah, our budget for this year for unemployment is $1,250.
Yeah, so we don't have any, we didn't think.
Week 2. Zeros.
We didn't think this was gonna be a thing this year, so that's why I'm asking.
So where's that line item that you just referred to?
It's in the road budget.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's just typically a very small amount. Typically we don't spend it. I think sort of related, the auditors are gonna come back with a recommendation about how we do unemployment.
Good.
We have been self-insuring. But most towns use VLCT's insurance services to do that. We use VLCT's insurances for everything else, but for whatever reason, don't for unemployment, I don't know why.
Can you do a cost analysis for us and let us know what it would cost the town to have that service?
We can make the ask, sure,
And it makes it
but
make
it's not
sense.
gonna be retroactive.
No, but if we, you know,
In
if you
the
have
future.
10 employees, they charge you 10% of their salary, 3%, would, just to see if it would make sense. Would 4 people have to quit and go on unemployment to make it pay for itself, you know, just kind of do the math.
So the $18,000 number comes from where?
State of
Vermont
Vermont.
Department of Labor, what they do is because he's filed for unemployment, they go back through a certain range of time and they calculate what he has earned for wages during that certain period of time. Now, during that certain period of time, he worked for the town, but he also worked for somebody else. So based on what his wages were, he's allowed $705 a week to draw for unemployment. Of that $705, because the town of Coventry, we were the prominent person who paid him the most. We will be liable for 91% of the $705 payment. And then the other company who only paid him, like say 5,000, is gonna be liable for that 9% of the other of that payment. So that's how they calculate it. It's all based on that.
Next year we might be obligated to 9% or 3% of it.
I just don't know how do you know how do you know how much time it is? How do you know it's 18,000 if it's only so much a week?
Because
Get a
they
job
notify
next week.
that to you guys, well, we received a notice from Department of Labor, but I sent it to you guys, I think with this AP packet.
Bring your folder,
For what?
the
for what
letter.
the Department of Labor had figured how they calculated it.
So if you have a return date, he must have a return date to wherever he's gonna go back to work, so he's not gonna work till X amount.
Okay, is that the answer, Deb? Okay,
What's your question?
how do we come up, how do we know 18,000? How do we know he's not gonna get a job next week?
No, that is correct. That is the maximum liability we may be held to. That doesn't
Okay.
mean we're gonna pay 18.
That's
Okay.
just what, that's
Our
what,
maximum liability for this time frame.
So let's play out a scenario and say it becomes a seasonal issue for that particular person. Let's say we jump ahead until next year. Where does your 91% end up?
Well, just like what Scott just said, because then it's gonna be kicked to a different time frame. And then say they're gonna look from June to June again. They're gonna say, okay, did he even work for the town of Coventry? Yeah,
Oh.
but the amount of money he earned was like only 5%. We're gonna have a small fraction of what we're gonna have to pay, and whoever he was employed with since being done with us is gonna have that larger percent. And then eventually, we're just gonna fall off that wagon because they can only go back to a certain time period each time.
thank you, Deb.
Learning tonight, ain't we?
You guys good with that one?
Kinda gotta be,
Yeah,
don't they?
yeah, you don't have a choice, but you understand?
So I guess
Just gonna be
That's
overspent.
that's a new weekly expense. That's what I'm hearing. And so
Yeah.
when we look at our budgeting here in the coming months, we gotta see where we're gonna end up on this road crew. We're gonna be,
It's a ton.
we're gonna be way over.
Yeah.
It's all your fault.
Okay,
Well, I'm sorry.
treasurer's report, David Barlow. Okay, the December,
we've had
right?
it cheap
December,
way too long.
December.
Too cheap, too long.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
About 300,000.
December
more, I know.
2023 trip.
I'm guessing you. High end, maybe a little.
So inviting your attention to the front cover of the treasurer's report. You notice on the right hand, upper right hand side of that, it'll column for invoiced grants. I did this based on your comments last time for November's report that you wanted to see any grants that have been invoiced against any particular fund. Normally, more than likely would be a reserve fund, but not always. In this, for December, there aren't any. currently invoiced. But I'd add the column. So, I do need to point out an error in what you're looking at under the general fund without reserve fund spending. In the expenses and transfers column, it's sort of a lower size font number, 830,532 number. That's actually an error. I got a plus instead of a minus in that somehow. The real number there is $492,726.30. And that is what we spent last month from the general fund checking. Not reserve fund spending, but just general fund, 492,726. You might say, goodness, that's a lot of money. What the heck is going on? And I would say, yeah, 250,000 of that is that check that we cut to the town foundation.
Last year's vote.
Yep, last year's money. So that's what's going on with that. The other, so that reduces that amount significantly when you take that out of that 492.
Come up with such a thing.
There's also a bunch of other spending that we paid out all of those appropriations. And so that's a lot of spending that happened in December. There was another big bill that came up that it's on December thing, which is the Newport City Fire Department, 29,500. The rest of the spending in November or December was all the kind of normal stuff. Moving on down, we have reserve fund spending. You can see the 52,333 in roads capital equipment fund. That was the truck, the water tank, a Dodge, I believe, or a Ram truck, pickup truck.
I thought we were gonna take that out of the surplus.
Well, I haven't cleared that with the auditor yet. It may in fact get realigned that way. I can get them on the phone so I can talk through. Can that come from fiscal year 23 leftover money? Assuming there's enough, and there should be.
He said it, could I talk to him?
Oh,
Right here.
that's the 52.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I can't post that until I get something in writing from him. I understand he's okay with it, but
okay.
because it's under audit, I can't go back and change it, and I'm very reluctant to do anything but what I've done currently, just so it remains visible, so we revisit it when we iron out the audit details.
I'm lost.
The pickup, remember?
The
We were
pickup.
gonna-
Yeah, so it's roads and capital equipment, right?
Yes.
52,333.
Right. We were gonna
Oh,
get-
because it's surplus.
Right, we had money left over and we asked them if we could do it. They said yes. Remember, we asked, yeah, but he's gotta get something.
Because
ready
it's
before- yeah.
because they're
It's
audited.
Currently under audit.
I
Got
don't wanna hit it.
No, you're absolutely right.
Got it.
Right,
You got it.
And yet I want to make sure it's visible, right? It's there. I know it's not exactly where you want it.
Right.
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not,
No,
it's not out in left field somewhere either, so.
right, no, it's on here, we can see it.
You got it.
Road infrastructure fund, that was, mostly, culvert work. I think it was on Lane Road. For which we,
That 116,000.
yes, for which we also had a grant that was invoiced and already paid last month, so. It shows, this payment shows up this month just from timing of checks. What you see on here it's always been a cash accounting. It's what's actually happening in the bank accounts is what you see.
We did, didn't we get like $80,000 grant?
It was more than that.
More than that, we,
We did good on grants this year.
Oh, we sure did.
I don't know how the hell we're keeping track of all that stuff. So what we're saying is that 116,000 is
for the Lane Road,
for the
It's not
Lane Road
entirely-
expenses.
114.
right. But we had gotten reimbursed last month, the grant money,
But the math on this paper doesn't indicate that.
because
114.
the math on this
Right, because it
indicates.
was last month,
Well, the grant showed up before.
in November. The money went into that fund. You deposited, if you had last month's, but you see a deposit for that grant, right, it would show it being,
Well, actually, let me correct myself right here. You do see it there. It's under the revenue line. For that fund. Just
oh, 103
a good
revenue, 103.
That's the grant money.
103,221. And there's a little interest in that. That's the grant money.
103, 26830 with the interest. Okay,
It doesn't show up on the invoice grants column because it was already invoiced and received.
get it?
If I put it on there
That's
twice,
good,
it's gonna be a
No.
problem.
Now I see it.
Yeah, that's
But
perfect.
yeah, I'm sorry, I'm the cause of that confusion.
Yeah, no, I
Yep.
got
Let
it.
me correct.
Right,
It's there.
Scott talked me through it. I got it.
yeah,
Looking to the right.
And as Matt correctly points out, it was an excellent year for grants. Thank you, Matt. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. It'll be in the reserve, well, it's all reserves fund, so that'll show.
He is the man, you know what? It's worth his weight in gold.
He is paid for
That's good.
himself.
Yes,
we need a few more.
you're gonna get town administrator of the year.
Is that such a thing as that?
You write a grant for this foundation.
Yeah, get a grant.
Get him, yeah, get him right up to that 2.2.
Okay, so getting to the proceeding down the line and hopefully not getting too controversial here, I did post the 1 January 20. I know it's, the printing gets quite small, 1 January 2024 number for the town investment fund. It's posted on the graph. That number is $11,476,270.58. It does not include the CDs, which are currently residing in that account as well, that are part of the other town funds as shown above.
Which is about $750,000.
It's 1,700,000.
1 million, where is that?
So there's $1 million from. the
Oh, up top,
general
yeah,
fund
right here,
and
1,000,000.
750. All in CDs.
So you're at 13 million.
Almost, that's excellent. We had 3 million.
Imagine if we spent normal, how much we'd have.
You gotta spend money to make money.
Somewhere else. All right. What did our investments get for the year? Do you know yet?
It appears, and you have to be careful because you have to exclude the CDs are sitting in there kind of this dead weight. Their performance doesn't, they don't count the performance numbers, right? So they haven't paid any interest.
Right.
They're just kind of dead weight. But if you take them out, which I've done on paper, we're somewhere in the 12% range,
It's nice.
Yeah.
which is, if you look at, you know, the S&P 500 did much better for the year, but this of course is not how we're investing. We're roughly 55% stocks and roughly, be careful here, 40% ish bonds, and then there's others. Little. Bond market's not so good. They were up a little bit, kind of like CDs, 5%. So they weigh, that performance weighted funds. But most, it also stabilize us in other years. But overall, it was a decent year. I have yet to make the budgeted 250,000 deposit for this fiscal year. I'm still waiting for the check to show up in January for Casella, so we have the money to do that.
We're anticipating this check to be in the, start with a 5 or 6.
Let me pop into the history here for just a second. Got it right here. The last one was 630,000, so I would estimate, it's gonna be somewhat less than that because it's gonna not have all the flood stuff. I think. But it might press 6. It should be 5 easy, yeah, we've been in the 5s for a while. So.
The 250 you're talking about, that's from what, the last March's budget, yeah,
For fiscal year 24, that's this time.
directing us to put that in, so we'll do that this month.
Yeah, that's the part for several years now, I put that amount in the budget. Just to try to ensure that we do something. I'm not knowing, because we vote the budget first before we get all the other stuff, so. How we budget this year,
Yeah, we can look at it, you should be able to have a real good idea, maybe we could budget 750, you know what I mean? That's the goal, if that's the goal that you're.
Well, we're gonna have to take equipment and whatever, right? I can't remember all the moving parts you were looking at, right?
Mhm.
For your equipment. If this is gonna be the start of the,
It's not too bad, I mean, especially if you dissolve all those reserve funds, you know, you don't, all those, we're not. You use that money towards the budgeted items going forward, you'd be sure by 400. 400 maybe.
Again, that it, Dave?
yes,
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
thank you, Dave.
Yep. Thanks.
Okay, under business, I got something you guys need to sign, it's a mileage certificate. One of you, you each have a copy. But all of you sign one copy, and then Deb also has to sign it, so I'm gonna put it on her desk after. Has to be filed, well, we have to file one here at the town and file one with the state. And there's no change from last year, same. We didn't gain any roads or lose any.
Didn't wash straight off the plan.
Right, no, the.
Doesn't matter which one we sign,
No, but all of you sign, but if you sign that one, then make sure
I'll pass it down.
Emily signs it and Dan signs it, and then I'll get Deb to sign that one too and make a copy of it.
For $1. We charge $1, you can help out. Could pay for a lot of stuff. Look at $1.
I'll let him pick up. You're
75
tougher than I am.
75
Yeah.
bucks, $75 to have a meeting, and look at the warrants, holy shit, it costs us $200.
Okay, now, you can approve the minutes from December 18th.
That's not it.
I mean, the
20th,
Yeah, whatever they like,
I don't have it.
20th.
whatever. Oh, yeah, because we had to go to a different
No,
day,
May.
right? And something, because
There you go.
the explosion happened.
Yeah.
We just switched to a different day.
So that all went off without a hitch. The 911 stuff and
Yep.
Phil knocked that out of the park.
Yep.
Everything was smooth, no issues. Everybody's happy.
Phil and I are meeting tomorrow with a river engineer to talk about dredging by the bridge over there.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
We're trying to get permission,
Nice.
so
Is there a grant for it too?
10 o'clock. Yeah. I
Knowing Matt, there will be.
There
That
will
means-
be.
that
more
means-
likely a fine.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Based on the last time we did it.
Oh, boy. Well, that's what the state's for, right?
Right, they remember the last time we did it.
That wasn't us.
Excavators don't flow, man, I don't understand why, but they just don't flow.
It was us. I take it back.
Yeah.
Grader tires are all on, right?
That's
I
all
got the
good.
bill today.
Well, how much was it? Is it in there?
11,500 about,
Oh, it was under?
and it wasn't a Deb, about 11,000.
Yeah, it was almost 11,000 through Pete's. Those
Yeah,
tires are $1,800 a piece.
yeah, about 11 grand.
6 of them, but try to change one. That was cheap. Did they leave the old ones? We told them to leave them. We told them to leave them because we can get rid of them for free, but I figured it's for a playground. I don't know if they do that stuff anymore. They probably have a value.
Yeah.
They can't all be totally bad,
They're,
right?
they're just beat, all right, we're not gonna,
We're not gonna use them,
no.
but we can find a use for them for. You know, you've seen them in playgrounds before. If not, we can just run them up to the dump and get rid of them for free.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of the board meeting, Wednesday, December 2023 as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good, warrants are in your folder there.
Wow.
I did end up doing another batch, only because you guys are delayed this month and you're gonna be delayed for the next one. So I wanted to go and capture whatever bills had came in since the last time I did it.
Okay.
Tell my wife to wait. I'm gonna pay them as soon as they come in
She scolded me the other day.
and when they call.
Hawkins again.
One of the things, Nate talked about is redoing the road to our gravel pit, something they're gonna do this spring. So when it gets real bad, not only are the roads real bad and we need gravel, we can't really drive to our gravel pit. 'Cause it's too soft. They get stuck. I never knew that.
I didn't either. Makes sense.
Makes sense, right? Maybe fix the
Got the
road.
right away, right?
Yeah.
But we should fix the road to the gravel pit so we can get our gravel.
But it's a right away, so we need to probably be mindful of how wide it is and
Mhm.
all those issues. Am I right about that? Pretty sure it's a right away through that, down through there. So.
And don't forget, I need a letter from you guys for the town report.
I'll get that to you definitely this week. I'll give you, my thoughts. You can compose it.
I'll, whatever you want, but
That's the bottom one.
Art services.
Is this, okay.
see you later, David. Thank you. Thank you.
Martha's Diner.
It was a gift for one of the employees.
The guys got stuck, they had to call the wrecker to pull them out.
Yep.
More than once.
Yeah, we've discussed this.
We have. Martha's.
No, I don't know about Mark.
Martha's was for this dog, or the die, we got one.
We don't give too many gifts, Christmas, flowers, nothing.
Well, we're gonna change that this year,
Are you
right?
gonna try to do it?
Early, we're gonna do presents this year.
Potluck.
God's gonna do Secret Santa for everybody.
I still don't know what this is. What is this?
Let's see, I'll make that do that. This is, so we got a gift card and uniform for supplies. And then doesn't go with that, summary of practice supply. Mhm.
Oh, it's fine, yeah.
So this was a payment on the credit card that we must have authorized last time. They got the payment after. You know, the payment credit, and then these are all new charges here, Tractor Supply, the diner, Tractor Supply. SP polar snow.
So we just
Those are tired.
charged,
So what happened was, we ordered Jeff a coat online through Tractor Supply. The coat came, it wasn't the right size for Jeff. So he took the coat to the store up here in Derby and exchanged it and got the money back on the card. And then we used the card to buy himself the right size jacket at the store.
so what about Martha's Diner, what's that one?
What's the amount?
103,
That's the gift card that we gave to Josh when his brother died.
yeah, that's why we really gotta work on the personnel, clothing, stipend, whatever we gotta do, we gotta figure it out. I mean, I think we should maybe bring the guys
We
in
did
here and
that,
say, listen,
because we tried to order him a jacket through Universe,
But
but
we gotta-
it never came, and then all of a sudden it was freaking 20 degrees outside, and the guy didn't have a jacket.
but I don't understand what but I don't.
You got a jacket?
Go
I got a
ahead
jacket.
now. No, but I don't understand municipalities, are they required to, do normal municipalities supply the crew with underwear and socks and boots and freaking
No.
clothing? I wouldn't think so.
No,
It's bullshit. It isn't like they're making $3 an hour.
right,
Buy your freaking clothes, right?
I think we can do as little or as much as we want. We just need to have something
I
to go
think the
by.
outer layer that the people see, we should provide maybe if we want them to look a certain way. But other than that, I think it's required. If they're not coming to work dressed right, then they might need to find a different place to work. I mean, there's a standard
Yeah.
that I don't know. We haven't had that. We never had to.
I think we
address it
should do
before.
something, but have some guidelines.
We're better off not to buy. We're really better off not to buy and not to provide it either. Just pay, but have a standard, and then say, "Look, and you're not meeting the standard," or something.
Yeah.
That could be maybe you want to talk to the town attorney about it. Honestly, like what are you know what I mean? Because that can just be.
I know exactly where it ends up going.
We should
I've
have.
been there in my life,
We should ask him.
it's called drift, the next thing you know, people aren't paying attention and you're gonna start getting those calls, who's this guy?
I mean, not everybody
Who's
can
this
dress as
girl?
nice as Deb every day,
Yeah.
right?
It's just
Yeah,
what
if
it
you set
is.
a high
You're gonna
standard,
have-
the guys just don't
It's gonna be
follow.
ripped up, cause they're paying for it.
But I'm also not out there shoveling dirt either.
Hmm. I bet if you were though, you'd have a nice little suit on, pink or purple, and have your name on it,
You know,
matching boots.
But that's why I said a lot of other towns, they provide the T-shirts and they have the name put on the T-shirts. Town of Coventry and then the employees' names.
Yeah, and those things are typically done extra. You know, it's where I work, it's the same way. All of a sudden, they'll throw you a sweatshirt or a t-shirt or a hat, but it's extra. It's not your uniform, but it's something that would be allowable to be worn at work, and it might have your name on it. It's not gonna have logos, and all of that stuff. It's gonna be work professional attire.
Right.
It's gonna say Town of Coventry, Dan.
Yeah.
And that you wear that if you want to, and we would go up and embroider it or whatever we gotta do, but
Right.
just to say, here's $800, go clothe yourself. Not a good idea.
I'm saying where you can streamline that, where if you go out, you buy all the T-shirts, buy them 5 different T-shirts. That
You
way
know,
you're-
instead of giving them the money, maybe they supply us the receipts and this is what we approve. You know what I mean? I don't know. We want to keep it simple though. We don't want to
That's
keep
gonna
it
be
at night.
complicated.
We don't want to make it an accounting nightmare.
All right.
I think next time we do a review, we'd say, this is what we expect you to have. This is what you're gonna get paid, and we're gonna give you an increase in salary. And you need to provide your own stuff. That might even be better. Or no increase in salary, and this is what you need. I mean, however we decide we want to do it. Because
I gotta think about it. It's a lot. You're giving me a lot tonight, Briar.
it shouldn't be that difficult, but it is. I know.
That's why everybody typically goes back to you first.
But their service sucks.
Yeah, it sounds like it's.
It does, but you can work through that, you know, or look at another contract. It's just that, you know. They clean it, they repair it, you don't have to deal with the management and running around.
But you do, because the slips don't get back to the office and all of a sudden, yeah, right, Deb?
No, I mean with the
Just a
employees.
Bunch of overcharge.
Talking about with the
What's the
employee.
motion on those warrants?
Motion to accept and approve the warrants as prepared.
Second,
All those in favor?
I
And an adjournment.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good. Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Good night, Deb.
Like,
Yeah.